Alright guys, I'm Hasan Piker, and I normally host entertainment and pop culture related things on Pop Trigger. Sometimes I go on the main show and talk about political stuff, mostly penis jokes. Up to this point, I've done one thing on What the Flick. One thing only. And it was my opinion on the Stephen Avery How to Make a Murderer movie. But I'm going to give you my take on the movie Trainspotting today. So, a little bit about Trainspotting before I get started. Don't expect any super solid criticisms from me on this. I'm not going to tell you, oh my god, this was influenced by Stanley Kubrick. Like, oh, I see Clockwork Orange's, undertones all over this movie. Or what the impact of this was on the Scottish youth, okay? It's a movie about addiction. And for me, it's a movie about the meaningless of our existence. This is what I got out of the movie. And it's a great movie because it portrays all of those issues, okay? And turns out apparently in 1996 or in the following years up to the movie, this heroin epidemic was a big one in Edinburgh. It's a British black comedy crime drama, and it follows Mark Rentboy Renton and his kind of crew of mates that go around, they shoot heroin, they drink in pubs, and they just live their day-to-day lives, and it kind of portrays Mark as this outcast in society that turns into a functioning member of society, whatever, regardless of what you feel about that. I'm going to start off by talking about what I didn't like about the movie. And there aren't really that many parts I didn't actually like. I really, like I said before, I like this movie. It's a good movie. It's kind of hard to watch over and over again, to be honest. So maybe that's kind of a criticism that I have. The criticisms that I've seen online from reviewers that are, that have looked at this in a professional light is usually that it is too upbeat when explaining such a grim, such a dark, real topic about heroin addiction. And, well, I guess there's mixed reviews on that because I personally think, I like that because it captivates me and other people watching the movie and allows us to kind of follow this plot line and see the reality and the darkness that comes along with heroin addiction. Another criticism I've seen online is that the cast was too repugnant, and that's the whole fucking point. It's supposed to be repugnant. These are real people that are supposed to be interesting. None of these characters are one-dimensional, in my opinion. I like them, and I draw real-life examples of the characters that I've seen in that movie, and I love when I can relate something to my real past experiences. In a way, that's the best way that a movie can draw emotion out of me. Like, for example, Francis in the movie is the Napoleonic, short, violently angry, drunk bar fighter. And we all have that one friend that is a part of the group and he has your back regardless in tight situations. But then you also, he's your mate, but you're also slightly terrified of him at the same time. Like, you respect him, you know he has your back in a pinch, especially in a situation that requires answers such as violence. But at the same time, you're also a little terrified of him, and you can't really let him go. And you really see that. Or the con man, sick boy, the charismatic character that can just go off on a tangent about certain things. He has deep knowledge over particular subjects like, Bond movies. And he can just kind of go into these deeply well thought out, almost poetic monologues about Bond movies and Bond characters and how that franchise developed. And I really saw a lot of my friends in Renton's friends. And I don't know, to me that's powerful cinema. I love it when I can draw conclusions about my own life when I'm watching a group of heroin addicts in 1980s Edinburgh. So again, those criticisms aren't very heavy criticisms, but those are the ones I've seen and those are the ones I kind of have. It's taken this incredibly grim topic and made it easy to consume, and I appreciate the movie for that. Now I'm going to talk about what I like about the movie. I'm just going to start off with the baby death. They play it up in an almost comical and upbeat way all the way up to that point where, like, they're shooting heroin and there's a baby, walking around these dirty heroin needles that might be AIDS infested, And it's in a weird way, it's almost comical, and you see it and you're like, okay, what's going to happen to this baby? And you kind of see it coming because they foreshadow it, but you don't really see it hitting you the way it does. And the fact that they even showed a baby, I mean, that's just a terrifying, really powerful scene, right? I love that scene, and there's other scenes like that that I love as well. But the most powerful scene for me specifically was when Spud's mother, after Spud's conviction, after Spud and Renton's trial, walks into the bar when Renton's family and friends, and also Spud's family and friends, basically are celebrating, and she's tormented. She can't believe that, you know, his son, his little boy, has to go to prison, where Renton, who she might possibly even blame for Spud's heroin addiction at that point, is basically celebrating, and then she gets outcast by Francis, who screams at her. And like, I can't even explain how I felt when I saw the mom just kind of do it like a double take, like look back and not really even comment, like not really even, can't even say anything about the situation, just walk away. It was just so sad. That's the kind of stuff that makes good cinema. 2 last points I'm gonna make. 1, the score is awesome. I don't really understand British pop too well. I know it from peripheral vision. Like I hear it, I like it. There's Iggy Pop in there, I think. There's Blur. It's very like Skinsy. I love the songs. It really depicts that era well. But most importantly, the 90s, as I mentioned before, the 90s counterculture take on consumerism is really apparent here in the monologue, in the opening monologue, when he's talking about, you know, choose a house, choose a car. That whole like Fight Clubby, like they've made an entire movie about that, basically that little monologue that that Renton has in the opening sequence. And there's a bunch of other awesome monologues like that that I loved about Edinburgh and how bleak it is and how meaningless our lives are. It really hit me in an emotional way because I have often had those thoughts about existentialism and this angst that I feel. I'm also kind of a hedonist, so I thought, I mean, maybe heroin is kind of cool. Maybe I'll try it out if it's the ultimate pleasure. But then it shows that it's absolutely not, and the effects that it has on a community is devastating. So I was like, okay, I'm probably not going to do it. Plus, I'm a little scared of needles. But overall, I'm going to give this movie an 8.1. It's undoubtedly a classic, okay? It's a great movie, but it is a little difficult to watch because of the topic itself. Because, like, it's kind of like The Pianist is an amazing movie, and everyone will agree with me on this. But you're not going to go back and rewatch it over and over and over and over again and be like, oh my God, it's getting better every single time. But like every 3 years, give it a rewatch. It deserves it. All right, I'm Hasan Piker, and that is my take. Hopefully you didn't hate it.